a reminder for any folks that maybe heard about us and trying to remember who we are, what we did. So Illinois Deer Donation Program is a partnership with Illinois SNAP-Ed, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Education Program. And they do work with low resource audiences around food and nutrition. So typically they're working with food pantries and providing education to the food pantry guests on how to make meals on a limited budget, how to make use of the particularly fresh food they might get at a food pantry so that they can store it in a manner that is going to last a little bit longer, and giving them some details there. So the program was piloted this last year. So through hunting season 2022, we had over 8,000 pounds of meat donated, which is awesome for our first year. That ended up coming from 202 deer. So we had a really great turnout. I know our joke was, if we get one deer, we consider us successful. So we definitely matched that. And then that 8,000 plus pounds got distributed over 37 food pantries. And then when our SNAP-Ed staff were able to come in and talk to food pantry guests and set up their tables and have their informational booth. So they reached about 500 people throughout food pantries that were reached. So really great first season. And the hope is that we will possibly expand. We did talk about this on the recap of possibly expanding into a couple other counties for this coming hunting season.
All right, welcome. Today we have Caitlin Mellendorf with us from Illinois Extension. So she's located here in Central Illinois, and she's been a part of the Deer Donation Program. And we've talked to you guys, I think, a few times now, getting the program up and going, and you guys are now a year in, and you just had your update for the year and going in your second year now, and we're just kind of seeing how it all went.
Holy cow, that was a whirl of a hunting season. So we spent the better part of 2022 prepping, getting logistics in place, hiring staff. And then when hunting season hit, we laughed because our community workers that were going to be working with the food pantries that would be eventually receiving the meat, we hit October 1 and they were like, okay, where's my meat? We had to kind of remind them that no, it's going to take a little while for us to get any quantity of meat. And hunters literally just started, but they were excited to get going. We just had to kind of wait for the hunters to go out hunting and then bring their deer in. And so, yeah, when hunting season hit, we ended up working out a lot of little logistics, but the overall success of this, we're very proud of that. So for a reminder for any folks that maybe heard about us and trying to remember who we are, what we did. So Illinois Deer Donation Program is a partnership with Illinois SNAP-Ed, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Education Program. And they do work with low resource audiences around food and nutrition. So typically they're working with food pantries and providing education to the food pantry guests on how to make meals on a limited budget, how to make use of the particularly fresh food they might get at a food pantry so that they can store it in a manner that is going to last a little bit longer, and giving them some details there. So the program was piloted this last year. So through hunting season 2022, I'm going to list off my counties: Clay, Coles, Cumberland, DeWitt, Douglas, Effingham, Fayette, Jasper, Macon, Moultrie, Douglas, and Shelby. So we're kind of in this East Central Illinois 12-county pilot area. And the basic design of the program is that hunters go out hunting. They bring their deer to partnering meat processors. We had 6 this year. And the processors turn that into ground venison. So we're doing burger for all of our food pantries. And then we hired staff to drive the meat from processor to partnering pantries. From there, our SNAP-Ed staff step in and provide recipe cards, show videos about how to make certain things, talk about food safety around transporting frozen meat home and what to do with that when you're home, how to cook it safely at certain temperatures. Provide them. We had some different incentives that we give out. So the meat mashers, we call them, were incredibly popular this year. So you may be familiar with those. The kind of 4-prong, sometimes they're 5-prong little sticks that you kind of mash ground meat with as it cooks, and it breaks up nicely into chunks. And that was kind of the program start to finish. So there's a lot of states that have deer donation programs. And from what we can tell, our pilot program is adding in that extra piece of the nutrition education.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of programs are bringing the meat, they're incorporating hunters, they're incorporating food pantries and meat processors. And then we are adding that little extra addition of where's the nutrition education piece. So we're very proud that we kind of get to pilot that and see how that works within at least an extension model.
Sure.
So
Yeah, no, I'm sorry to cut you in. Go ahead. I was just saying, you guys have some fabulous handouts that we saw, at least on your slideshow that you guys had your presentation last week that we sat in on, and we may want to steal some of them from you because they're really well. The infographics you guys have designed are straightforward and kind of lay out the food safety of general food in general, but also just venison too. So super straightforward, clean, easy, understandable information there.
Yeah, totally. So as you brought up our recap that we had last week. So we did a little lunch and learn for stakeholders, for folks that want to just kind of learn about the program or have already been involved in the program and wanted to just kind of hear what we did. And so we did a recap lunch and learn to talk about the program. And then we had a meat processor that partnered with us this year. He talked a little bit about his experience with that, which we're very, very grateful to him to hear about that. So by the numbers, I'm looking through our slide deck so I can remind myself. So we had, oh, come on, where's my number? We had over 8,000 pounds of meat donated, which is awesome for our first year. That ended up coming from 202 deer. So we had a really great turnout. I know our joke was if we get one deer, we consider us successful. So we definitely matched that. And then that 8,000 plus pounds got distributed over 37 food pantries. And then when our SNAP-Ed staff were able to come in and talk to food pantry guests and set up their tables and have their informational booth, I believe, I was trying to look here real quick, I believe it was 17 of those, 17 of those booths. So they reached about 500 people throughout the food pantries that were reached. So really great first season, and the hope is that we will possibly expand. We did talk about this on the recap of possibly expanding into a couple other counties for this coming hunting season. So we are in the process of figuring out how we're going to do that, and will involve hiring extra drivers. That will definitely involve talking with more extension staff and incorporating more staff. We are also working on new recipes for this coming year. So we actually just filmed a couple of those last week. I'm actually downloading those so I can start editing on those. And yeah, we're just we thought we're gonna have a break when hunting season was over, but we've pretty much just kept going because the next year is going to be here, because I mean it's almost May.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be here before we know it.
Oh yeah, no, gotta get everything lined up and keep expanding, and like you said, you have to hire up some more folks to drive the meat around, and yeah, I almost said a pun where you guys are just cooking, but I don't want to do that, but so what were some needs that you see to help you guys keep going and expand more? Like what do you guys need as a program right now? Besides, of course, the meat donation, like start there, but then grow out from that. Like what other part of the moving parts of this program do you guys need to kind of help to make it stronger and last for years to come?
Well, like most things, it's going to be funding.
Mm-hmm.
So our funding structure, we have internal funding through Illinois Extension, through SNAP-Ed, that supports staff time. So that's what pays for our staff time, for our drivers. And so some of the staffing, travel, all of those are covered under us. But this part of this program is we wanted to reimburse our meat processors. So they are getting money for all the deer that they are processing for us. We didn't want that to be completely out of the goodness of their own hearts, although I know some of them definitely would, but we wanted to thank them essentially for being part of this and doing extra work, and get some money for that. And so everything that goes to pay our processors is all fundraising.
Mhm.
So we're very grateful to have Lumpkin Family Foundation donated $25,000 to go towards this year's hunting season and reimbursing our meat processors. So the big thing is money, is doing that fundraising. So for any folks listening that would like to donate, they can go to the University of Illinois Foundation, and there's an other box on the donation. And so you can just write in Illinois Deer Donation Program, add whatever amount of money you want to give, and they will take it from there. They'll hold on to that until we reimburse our processors. And for any folks that are curious, our reimbursement rate is $100 per deer. So if you want to donate $100, you can donate a whole deer. And so that covers approximately 60 pounds of meat once everything is processed, and estimating about a pound of meat per about 4 servings. We're getting about 240 servings of food out of that one deer. So that's pretty cool. The deer is a decent sized animal, and so it can feed a good number of people. So if you're interested in donating, that's kind of our big thing right now, money wise. But other things, we would love to have more meat processors partner with us. And one thing that's in the back of my head to bring at some point is a series or an education kind of topic on how do you get started. So if you're like, I could do meat processing, I think this is something I could do as a business. How do I get that up off the ground? So I have this idea in the back of my head to do some type of series working with Illinois Department of Ag, working with some of the commerce and money. I'm clearly not the money person, working with departments that work on loans, departments that work on business structure. I've talked to, IDOA, commerce. I want to have some existing processors come on as guests and talk about the highs and lows of being a business that is meat processing. So that's something that we definitely need more meat processors, and hopefully a series like that might inspire some folks to start up their own businesses and be entrepreneurs, because that's a big undertaking for sure. And then of course, hunters, we would love to engage more with archery season. So we had some early on, since I believe that's first season is archery.
Mhm.
And we got some meat. We didn't get a ton, so we'd love to get more donations from archery season. So we'll definitely be pushing more advertising early on in the hunting season to hopefully get some more folks that are using archery for their hunting style.
Wow, there's a lot there. So to go back, so it's about $100 you can donate, and then it's about 60 pounds of meat per deer. And then that, with the recipes that you guys have, that comes out to be about 240 meals you guys can donate for a $100 donation to your program. So then you can give as much or as low as that as you'd like, but that's a fair trade for $100 to get 240 people fed. And then I think that deer, how about you? What do you think about that, Curtis? A deer processor program to help people understand the small businesses of having a deer processing side gig. I think that's awesome. I think that's something we need, because I'm talking to our deer processor. A lot of them process cattle. I think the one that you had on your talk is also does cattle and livestock as well, and they kind of fit the deer in where they can. And having those kind of smaller businesses to help the hunters out, I think, getting their meat back quicker, and just having another option compared to someone who might be turning meat away, because I think they did say they were turning meat away, they were turning deer away by the end of their season last year. So I think that is a need that we have in the area for sure.
Yeah, we would love to have somewhere else to direct people. So yeah, if one processor is full for that weekend and they've taken in all the deer that they can, that maybe there's somebody 30 miles away that is available and could take that deer instead, we'd love to get more of those folks. So it's on my to-do list to get
Yeah.
working on that, because yeah, we'd love to just increase the number of available options, and also knowing that some processors have been around for years and years and years, so the possibility that they would retire, and depending on what their contingency plans, their longevity is, if they're going to shut down versus maybe someone can take over and continue that business. So it's something that we're thinking about, trying to get a lot of partners involved. Maybe even, it doesn't even have to be deer. It could be any type of protein. I think that would be great too. Maybe we need more poultry processors, or maybe we need more pork or cattle, or I don't know. So yeah, it's definitely something we'd love to see, especially more folks that do whole deer. Just for us, from a food safety perspective, we know some processors that will do bone out product, but for us, in a food safety perspective, we'd rather have the hunter bring the whole deer rather than a portion of like a leg.
Sure.
Yeah, so a question, you probably kind of answered it right there, but I was going to ask, do you think you'll ever accept other animals than deer? But yeah, from a food safety, that might make it a little bit more difficult, I guess, if you're getting in, geese and deer and maybe feral pigs, and then it, I guess, is more complicated to keep track of that whole food safety aspect for sure.
And we have talked to other states that do donation programs. And of course, I cannot remember which state it is, but there are states that do other animals besides deer, which is very cool. And then there's a state that does product. So they don't do just ground meat. We have a state that does like snack sticks, and that's super cool. So that's like kind of an additional product that they believe theirs is through a backpack program. So like through schools, so the kids can take home meat sticks like over a weekend for folks, for families that are food insecure. Yeah, eventually I think that would be super cool to grow into.
Yeah, like especially if you could partner with somebody, let's just say they make spices, and so they want to donate and make a bunch of sticks or something. That would be a perfect way for them to highlight their spices and to donate to a worthy cause.
And wouldn't that be cool, especially if it's an Illinois-based company, and we can just kind of promote the whole local foods aspect of local food business. Yeah, the spices may not be, super local, but that it's an Illinois maybe run business, or it's, housed here in the state. Um, just kind of encourage, I know a lot of what our ag and small farms teams do with Illinois Extension, that's one of their big pushes is for local foods. So that would be great to add that element to our program.
So going back to kind of the general food insecurity in Illinois, do you have any stats or anything you'd like to talk about with that, and how big of a need food banks are in the different regions of the state?
Sure. So it's roughly 1 in 10 individuals in Illinois are food insecure. So throw a rock, throw a stick. You may encounter someone who has low resources and struggles to access food on a regular basis. And especially with the price of food skyrocketing the way it has the last several months. I know one report I saw was estimating an 11% increase in the food costs. I believe that was like late like winter, January, February. And that's just amazing. Like gets super expensive. I know I have felt that in my own food shopping, going, I don't remember this costing this much. And I don't think I've bought more food than normal. So having that protein source through venison available to food pantry clients so they can use their money on other food items when protein and eggs are very pricey is really helpful to those folks that would otherwise maybe not do a lot of protein. Nutritionally, we know we need a mix of things. We need carbs, we need fats, we need proteins. And so to be able to have venison at the pantries is another protein option. They don't often get fresh or frozen protein this way, and so this is a great thing. We had talked to some of the pantries that we partnered with and heard quotes like "it flew off the shelves." Some people asked for seconds, if they were had it available to maybe take an additional package home with them. People were really interested. We were just more concerned that there would be acceptance.
Sure. That's
Just
something that was, I'm sorry to steal your thunder, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I remember the stat. You guys did the survey asking folks if they'd be willing to try venison, and you had about 97% people said they'd be willing to try it or have tried it or something like that. I forget what the actual stat was, but it was overwhelmingly people were willing to try the meat out. So that wasn't actually an issue. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And that was great for us. And sometimes it's different. Like it's one thing to say on a survey, yeah, I think I would eat it, versus when it's actually offered in front of you, would you actually take it? And we saw that both were true. People were open to trying it, and they actually took it home with them. And it was variety. It was a little something different, especially in more of the southern portion, the southern counties in our pilot area. Those are bigger hunting communities anyway, so venison is not an unfamiliar food, versus like closer in my counties. I'm a little bit further north, and yeah, we have hunting, just not as much, but we still had acceptance at a really high rate, which was great.
That's very cool. So if I did get a deer and I wanted to donate it to you guys, where would I go to find out the processor list, or what's the process of donating a deer?
We try to keep it super simple. So I would suggest two methods. You can check out our social media page. We are currently on Facebook. If you search Illinois Deer Donation, we'll pop up. Or our website is go.illinois.edu/deer donation. And both places list the processors that we partnered with in 2022. That list may change for 2023 as we, hopefully expand. But bring your deer. You go out hunting. As a hunter, you go out hunting, you get your kill, you bring your harvest to a partnering processor during their regular business hours. So do double check that they're open on the days that you plan to go hunting, or that, as we talked about earlier, that they're not full currently. Do double check that. And from there, we have you fill out just a contact form. So your name, your address. And the reason we ask for that is so that we can send you a thank you card when we're done, because this is a big deal. You're using your tag on a donation. You don't get any of that meat back. So we want to say thank you for that. But yeah, bring it in, fill out that contact sheet, and the processor takes it from there. And that's we try to keep it as simple as possible for the processor. You as a hunter don't pay anything. We reimburse the processor later, and you get to have some kind of happy vibes that you helped feed someone in your community. And that's something that we try as best we can to keep it within that local area. Now, of course, if we don't have processors in every county, so of course some of that meat is going to go outside the county, but it's staying within a relatively local area. So I know some folks were curious about, well, where does my meat end up? Well, it's going to stay within our 12 county pilot area.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, this is awesome. I'm so happy for you guys that you're able to go and your pilot worked and you're going on to another year for the program. And it's time to give my dog meds. Sorry about that. So yeah, any other follow-up questions you got, Curtis?
Yeah, I got a couple questions here. So, first off, do you have any indication of what maybe people are making? So, have they mentioned to you like a favorite recipe that maybe they got from you all, or are they just adapting it into their own recipe? Any indication from that?
So part of our SNAP-Ed staff visiting the food pantries, we asked them to take a recipe that was prepared along with them so they could give out samples. And the top recipe was definitely the chili. And then our tacos did really well. So we did a basic like ground meat taco seasoning. So those two did really well, which is kind of fun. I'm excited. We're gonna try a little bit more of a breakfast spin for next for our coming up recipes. So look forward to that. If you've got some like recipe ideas, For venison. I know we're working on biscuits and gravy. We've got a breakfast casserole idea. I don't know that we'll get to it, but my thought was like a breakfast burrito. So I'm kind of excited. Like, yeah, we did some very savory dinner lunch recipes this last year, but we just thought let's do some breakfast ones.
That's
I
awesome.
love that. And I love relatable recipes when it comes to wild game because every once in a while I do like a fancy recipe. It's fun to prepare that. But one thing I've noticed is that so much wild game recipes are complicated that some people who maybe aren't used to wild game think that you have to be complicated in order for it to be good. And we get that question sometimes at workshops. So I think it's great, really, to focus on really simple things. And we even talked about that for us. Like, we should be making recipe videos that are like the opposite of fancy. Like, you like hamburger helper? Deer burger helper. Boom. It's awesome. It's great. It's wonderful. It's perfect substitution. But yeah, it's those familiar dinners that are simple, easy, one pot. You can do those with venison just like you do with hamburger. And yeah, they're probably even better. So that's awesome. And I love the fact that, like, you talked about not getting meat is expensive. Not everybody's got exposure to it, but also look at the health quality. When you are buying the less quality meat, the cheapest meat in the store, sometimes you may not be getting the healthiest thing there either. You're probably getting something from a feedlot, and who knows how long it's been sitting there. You don't know the whole answer, the whole story behind it. So I know I'm partial to wild game, but I'd much rather have the package of deer burger than buying the mystery meat on clearance at the grocery store myself.
And we've talked about this in our videos and in the recipes that deer is so lean, and we wanted to account for that in the recipes to remind folks, yes, some processors do cut the meat with fat, and if that's the case, you don't need to add this extra fat that we are adding in our recipe. But I know we've had a mix. We've had some of our recipes, the meat that we used was not cut with any fat, and then we've had recipes that we filmed that that particular cut of meat was that, or that particular burger was cut with meat or cut with fat, and so we just kind of like give both of those directions. So you don't need to add extra fat if it's been cut with additional fat. But if it's the super lean, just deer and nothing else, you may want to add a little bit of fat just for the mouthfeel, if nothing else. But yeah, it's going to be a really high quality protein. And yeah, you're right. Anything that is simple, I know for us, we're definitely focusing on a food pantry clientele audience. And so we're using really limited ingredients, very basic things. I'd say we're doing very Midwest comfort food through that, and things that are very familiar to folks. So yeah, I agree. It doesn't need to be fancy, it just needs to be tasty and fill your belly, and then you can get on with your day, fueled and ready to go.
Hmm. Yeah, and
Making
compliments to
me
your
think of
production as well.
making me think of like some Illinois specific recipes like tweaked to include wild game, like Chicago beef sandwich, right? That would be a perfect wild game dish. I was just thinking about that. Man, we should get on that,
We
Jason.
we definitely we did tater tot casserole this last round, and that felt, I don't know that that's Illinois specific, but that felt very Midwest.
Well, that's very Midwest. That's as Midwest as they come, I think.
You got to get state fair food and somehow put deer in all of it.
Just run it onto a stick and fry it.
Yep,
There you
exactly.
go.
That's basically my point. Yeah, to somehow make some type of fried stick deer, deer corn dog.
Sounds good to me. But now my question is, so if somebody, okay, they want to donate because they want those good feels, like you're saying, they want to donate a deer. What if at the same time they want to just go ahead and pay for the processing so that you all don't have to? Is that something that can be done?
That is a great question. I don't know that we came across that this last year, but yeah, if the processor or if the punter wants to pay for it, that's great. That would be fine by us. We'll just have to let the processor know to, um, make sure they back that one out of their donation list so they don't get double paid from us. But yeah, totally. If a hunter wants to go ahead and pay that processor up front, we'd have no trouble with that either.
Sure, yeah, either that or I guess donate directly to you. So donate a deer and then donate $100 on your website. That way you donate the meat and all the money covered. So you basically get double the good feels. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not a mathematician, but I'm pretty sure that's double the good feel. So that's probably worth it for a lot of people, I would think.
Yeah, that would definitely be the other option, right? Is you go ahead and donate to the program separately and then bring your deer to that partnering processor. And yeah, I like that. I think we can get double feels and double good vibes out of that.
Mhm. And that $100 fee is a very fair price to process deer. I think that's pretty fair across the board. That's basically a discount for most places. So that's great that you got that locked in.
Yeah, and do want to recognize that this is a discount for most processors. They're going to charge more than $100.
Mhm.
So that is just we're thankful that they are okay with us reimbursing them at a slightly lower rate than what they would normally charge. Um, but they did an awesome job. We're just they did fabulous this year to be kind of thrown into a program that's a pilot, and we don't always 100% know what we're doing, and we definitely had some road bumps along the way with getting meat in and out. So um, yeah, they did great. We're very thankful to have our processors, and we, like I said, as earlier, when we expand, hopefully we'll have some kinks worked out from year one that we won't repeat in year two.
Sure. Anything else, Kurt?
No, no, that sounds awesome. Hunters, processors, everybody coming together to feed folks that are less fortunate, and not to mention just sharing wild game. That's something we humans we've been doing for as long as we've been walking upright, is getting together and sharing food. So I think this is awesome. And just from a hunting standpoint, we hear from people like, oh, I'd like to get antlerless tags and go, maybe hunt more and get a doe or two after I get a buck, but my freezer's full. Well, now you got that excuse. Even if your freezer's full, keep on going because somebody out there wants to eat the deer, and it's helping out a lot of people. So might be an excuse for some people to even hunt a little bit more, which can be a good thing too.
And we put up a map so from the hunter contact sheet. So you bring your deer into the processor, we take your contact information. We put that into a map just to kind of see where folks were coming from. And we had, of course, a majority of our hunters were from Illinois, but we did have a number that were hunting from out of state. And so that was really cool just to see that. Yeah, they didn't want to probably figure out a way to transport their meat back. They said, hey, we are hunting for the love of hunting, and we're gonna leave this deer here to feed some hungry people. So that was really fun to look at that map and go, all right, cool, we attracted some people from outside Illinois too.
Hmm. Never even thought of that. That almost seems like you should try to email all the out of state hunters and just be like, hey, just so you know, if you don't want to spend the, $500 to ship your meat back, you could donate it to us and we'd be very happy.
Gosh,
Yeah,
is it that
there's
much to transport meat back? I guess it would
yeah,
be.
it depends on where you are, but I know like shipping from Alaska back, people usually put them in fish boxes, and I mean it winds up adding up, especially if you get something. Of course, they're dealing with cervids that are bigger than our white-tailed deer. So my guess is you can get it significantly cheaper than that for, yeah, what you said, about 60 pounds of boned out meat is average for Illinois deer. That's still probably going to be close to 200 is my guess. So that's cool. That's interesting that you mentioned that because I would have never thought of that, but it makes sense.
Hmm.
Well, and our perspective typically has been out of state hunters maybe coming for the trophy rather than, as you said, antlerless deer. So maybe they're leaving the body for meat and they're taking home the trophy. But I like your perspective too, that maybe it's just cheaper to leave the meat here than to transport it home. Had not thought about that either.
Yeah, maybe they never even thought of that, but then they're successful, and then they start looking into that price and like, oh, yeah, maybe I should donate. Who knows? Maybe because that price is going up too. Every price is going up, so
Hmm.
it'd be more and more expensive to ship that stuff back home too. So Who knows? But that's cool stuff. It's awesome. It's a real feel good program. So of course we at Illinois Learn to Hunt will keep pushing it, keep trying to get hunters to hunt more, donate more deer. And if you're in the position where you can go ahead and donate that $100 to get it processed, then you get double the good feels. You won't find this deal anywhere else, folks. Double the good feels for the price of one. That's pretty good. And now after all this talk of food, I'm getting hungry. I think I'm gonna make me some squirrel burger helper or something right now.
Yeah, I gotta go thaw some meat out real quick. All right, well, Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, this has been fun, guys. Thanks for bringing us on and let me talk about our program.
No, for sure. And we'll be sharing your breakfast videos for sure as you pump those out. We'll be happy to share this for our media as well.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Hmm. Awesome. Well, good luck in year two, and we'll see you probably next fall or next spring again.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Awesome. We'll see you later.
Thanks,
Bye.
Caitlin.